The tent zipper was moving, but we were all inside. I need to get this off my chest, even if no one believes me. We were 4 of us. Me, my girlfriend Cara, and our friends James and Liv. None of us were hardcore survivalists or anything. We just liked disconnecting from the grind and doing one big camping trip every year. This time we chose the Cascade Mountains, deep in Washington. Cara booked a site off a blog recommendation. Some guy who swore by this hidden spot near Lake Chelan. Said it was quiet, isolated, no signal. Perfect. We hit REI the weekend before, stocked up on propane, water filters, bear spray, all the gear. James borrowed a Yeti cooler from his cousin. We had one of those Costco multi-room tents, which felt excessive until the wind came that first night. The hike to the site took 4 hours. The blog was right. It was off-grid, all right. No people, no sound, not even the usual birds or critters scurrying. Just towering pines, pale moss, and that eerie quiet that makes your skin hum. I remember Cara saying, "It's too quiet, isn't it?" But James laughed it off. We pitched camp right by the lake. No other tents, no trails, just us. We cracked open beers, grilled some frozen sausages, and by sunset we were wrapped in hoodies, roasting marshmallows, joking about Bigfoot. That night was cold. Not freezing, but the kind of cold that sticks to your bones. Around 2 a.m. I woke up to pee, slipped out of my sleeping bag, unzipped the tent slowly, not wanting to wake Cara, and stepped out. The fire had long died. My boots crunched faintly on frosty grass. Moonlight was weak, but enough to see shapes. Then I noticed something that didn't belong. There was a figure standing just beyond the tree line, not moving. I thought it was James. Maybe he couldn't sleep. Maybe he was taking a piss too. I even whispered, "James?" But the figure didn't respond, didn't move. Then it turned around. Not fast, not slow, just a smooth, steady pivot, and walked backward into the trees. Backwards. I stood there frozen. My bladder no longer mattered. I climbed back into the tent, heart pounding, told myself it was nothing. Shadows. My own tired eyes. But in the morning, I saw it again. The same shape, barely visible in the woods. This time Liv saw it too. She thought it was a deer. I knew better. Later that day, our lantern went missing. No one admitted to moving it. We blamed James. He swore he never touched it. Then Cara found it 30 feet away, half buried under leaves like someone had tried to hide it. And that night, that zipper moved. We were all inside, all 4 of us. We heard the tent zipper. The unmistakable slow unzip, like someone was trying not to wake us. But when James whipped his flashlight around, there was no one there. The flap was halfway open. We searched the woods with knives and bear spray. Nothing. No tracks, no animals, no people. But in the dirt just outside the flap, a single boot print, too big to be any of ours. The next morning, we didn't talk much. Everyone was up early, stiff and quiet, like we'd all had the same nightmare, and no one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. Cara didn't even touch her coffee, which was saying something. That girl treats morning coffee like religion. James broke the silence eventually. "That zipper thing," he started, then cut himself off. "Whatever. Probably wind or a raccoon. A raccoon with a size 12 boot, Liv snapped. Her sarcasm always went into overdrive when she was scared. We all went to check the boot print again. It was still there, deep, pointing toward the lake now, as if whoever made it had stood outside the tent watching us for a while, then turned and walked away. I wanted to leave. I said it outright, but Cara shook her head. We've still got 2 nights. We came all this way. One creepy thing doesn't mean we bail. James agreed. We're just psyching ourselves out. No signal, no distractions, and our brains make stuff up. It's cabin fever, but in a tent. But it didn't feel made up. We tried to push on, pretending it was just a weird blip. Hiked a few miles to a viewpoint around noon. Took some photos. But even then, I kept looking over my shoulder. That feeling. You know when you know someone's watching you, even if you can't prove it? It stuck with me the whole time. It wasn't paranoia. Not yet. That came later. When we got back to camp, the first thing I noticed was that the tent flap was open again. Wide open. None of us had unzipped it. Everything inside was still there, but someone had clearly been in it. Cara's pack was flipped. Our food stash had been dumped. Not stolen, just dumped. Like someone went through it for no reason. The cooler lid was off. There were muddy prints on the sleeping bags, human prints. James was pissed. All right, whoever's messing with us, this isn't funny anymore. But no one was laughing. We checked the perimeter. No sign of another tent. No footprints except those same boots. Deep, deliberate steps leading in from the woods. And then just gone. Like the person walked in and vanished. Liv started to cry a little. She's not weak. She's the kind of person who did CrossFit during quarantine. But something about the invasion just cracked her. She kept muttering, "Why would they touch our stuff? Why would they go inside?" I didn't have an answer. That night, no one wanted to sleep. We built the fire big, kept it burning like a damn beacon. James had the bear spray clipped to his belt. I held a hatchet in my sleeping bag. No one said it, but we all expected whoever it was to come back. And they did. At 3:17 a.m. I remember the time exactly, because I looked at my watch when I heard the sound, like twigs snapping. Not random forest noise, not wind, a person. I nudged Cara, who was already awake, eyes wide. The footsteps were slow, deliberate. Then silence, followed by laughter, low, raspy, like someone who hadn't laughed in years and forgot how. It came from maybe 20 feet away, then 10, then right outside. We didn't move. No one breathed. Then, zip. The zipper started to move again, but this time it didn't stop halfway. It kept going. Smooth, all the way down. I was gripping my hatchet so hard my knuckles hurt. Cara was frozen. James shouted, "Who the fuck is out there?" But there was no answer, just the sound of the tent flap swaying, and the cold. God, it was so cold all of a sudden, like all the heat from our bodies got sucked out into the night. Then, a voice, close, right outside. "You left the fire burning. That's not safe." That voice didn't belong to anyone we knew. And when James ripped open the flap and shone his light out, the man was already walking away, but not running, just walking, naked. The beam from James's flashlight caught his back, pale, filthy skin stretched over thin bones, streaked with dirt and blood. The man didn't flinch, didn't even look back, just walked into the trees like he lived there, like he belonged to the forest. None of us said anything for maybe a full minute. James lowered the light slowly, like he couldn't believe what he'd just seen. Then Cara whispered, He was naked. Why the fuck was he naked? I think he was bleeding, I said. I hadn't even realized I was shaking until my teeth clicked. Liv was already packing. She had one boot on and was trying to shove her sleeping bag into her pack. I'm not staying. I don't care if we hike all night. I'm not staying here with that. But when we stepped outside to pack the rest of our gear, we realized something even worse. Our trail markers were gone. We'd tied orange nylon strips to trees along the hike-in, every few 100 yards, bright, visible even in moonlight. Now, nothing. The trees looked the same in every direction, like we'd never even been here. Someone took them down, Cara muttered. Why would they do that? To keep us here, I said without thinking. We argued about whether to leave that night or wait until morning. I was all for leaving. I'd have crawled on all fours if I had to. But James, always the level-headed one, said, if we head out in the dark and lose the trail completely, we could end up really screwed, sprain an ankle, fall off a ledge. Just wait till sunrise. We relit the fire, bigger this time. No one slept. We sat in a tight circle, backs to the tent, watching the woods. Then we heard it again, not footsteps, singing. A woman's voice, soft, off-key, just 3 or 4 notes on a loop, like a lullaby. It drifted from the trees, weaving between the trunks. We couldn't see her, just the voice, hovering, floating. Cara whispered, Is that him? No, Liv said. That's someone else. The voice stopped. Then we heard rustling again, footsteps, this time running. Not toward us, past us, circling. James grabbed a log from the fire and tossed it into the woods. It hit something. There was a scream, high, sharp, human, then silence. Nothing moved after that, not the wind, not a branch. The fire was the only sound. We didn't talk, just stared into the flames, jumping at every crackle. When the sky started to lighten, we bolted. No breakfast, no packing, just whatever we could grab, we grabbed. We left the cooler, the tent, the lantern, everything. But the forest wasn't done with us. About a mile in, we found something that stopped us cold. Another tent. It was old, faded, mildewed. Not from this year, maybe not from this decade, and it had clearly been slashed open. Not by an animal, by a knife. Clean vertical cuts, through the nylon and inner mesh, like someone had attacked it. Inside we found a torn sleeping bag, a pair of hiking boots, a crushed pair of sunglasses, and duct tape. Lots of duct tape. Some of it was still rolled, some used, balled up, and there were reddish stains on the edges. Cara was staring at the boots. Those are women's. James turned, already walking. Nope. I'm not doing this. I'm not finding out what happened. I don't want to know. Neither did I. But as I turned to follow him, I saw something carved into the bark of the tree next to the tent. 4 letters. Help. Fresh. Still still flaking, and underneath it, another word, stay. We should have turned around. Hell, we should have never come in the first place. But when I saw that word carved into the bark, stay, something inside me twisted. Not just fear, something worse, something instinctual, like being caught in a nightmare where your legs don't work and something's coming up the stairs. Kara touched the carving too, gently, like she couldn't believe it was real. "Do you think it's a warning?" she asked. Liv shook her head. "No, it's a command." We left the torn tent and the duct tape behind, moving faster now, even though we didn't really know where we were going. No markers, no GPS, just sun position and James's memory of the trail. That's when things started disappearing. First, it was Liv's water bottle. We know she clipped it to her backpack. 30 minutes later, gone. Then my jacket, tied to my waist like always. 1 second it was there, next second it was gone. Clean. No snag, no tear, just gone. Kara was next. Her pocket knife vanished. We searched for it, retraced our steps, but there was nothing. That's when it hit us. Someone wasn't just watching us. They were following us, and they were fast. "We have to get the hell out of here now," I said. "They're playing with us. They're close." James stopped dead in his tracks. There were boot prints ahead of us. Fresh. Same deep treads as the one outside our tent. Heading the same direction we were. Leading us. James bent down, felt the soil. "Still damp," he muttered. "He's minutes ahead." Liv went pale. What if he's not ahead? What if he's waiting? That's when we smelled it. Smoke, faint but real. Wood smoke. Not from a wildfire, not natural. Controlled. Close. We crept forward, slowly, until we saw the flicker. A small fire in a clearing. And someone sitting by it. Back to us. Still. Unmoving. A man. But not the man. This one had clothes. Ragged, yes, a torn flannel, jeans caked in mud. But clothes all the same. His head was shaved. Skin greyish. Like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. He sat cross-legged, whispering something. James whispered, "What the hell?" The man turned slowly. We all gasped. His eyes were wide, unblinking, bloodshot. Lips torn at the corners like he'd been chewing them. He looked right at us and smiled. It was the worst smile I've ever seen. Crooked, too wide, like it hurt him. "Found you," he said, in a voice like sandpaper and static. None of us moved. He stood up, bones cracking, and pointed behind us. "Keep going," he said. "You're close now." We didn't wait to ask. We ran. I don't even remember how long. 10 minutes? 30? It felt like hours. Our lungs were on fire, our packs bounced against our backs. My legs went numb, but we didn't stop. Not until Kara screamed. I spun around. She was on the ground, clutching her ankle. Bad sprain. Maybe broken. "Leave me," she said through clenched teeth. "No fucking way." James and I tried to lift her, but that's when we heard it. Laughter. But not one person. Multiple. All around us, in every direction. Men and women, high and low, some giggling, some wheezing, some just breathing heavy. Then, snap, a twig behind us. James turned and stopped. He didn't scream, he just said one word. Run! I grabbed Cara, threw her arm over my shoulder, and we ran again, limping, stumbling. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because I knew James wasn't behind us anymore. James was just gone. 1 second he was there, his arm outstretched, pushing us to run, and the next the forest swallowed him. Not a scream, not a struggle, nothing but the silence that came after, the kind that presses against your eardrums like a vacuum. Cara was sobbing, whispering his name over and over, limp against my shoulder. Liv tried to go back. We can't just leave him. But I grabbed her by the strap of her pack and yanked her forward. He told us to run. We didn't stop again until Cara collapsed. Her ankle was purple, swollen like a melon. No way she was walking anymore. We were off any real trail now, deeper into the woods than I'd ever wanted to go. Everything looked the same. Moss, trees, rocks, no birds, no animals, no wind, and still no signal. We built a small shelter out of branches and a tarp from Liv's pack. Not to sleep, just to regroup. That's when Liv said it. What if James wasn't taken? I stared at her. What? What if he stayed? What if he didn't run with us on purpose? That's not funny. I'm not joking, she whispered. What if, whatever this is, it gets in your head, makes you want to stay? The word carved into the tree came flooding back. Stay. Cara moaned something in her sleep, fevered now, burning up. I checked her ankle again. It was getting worse. Red streaks, infection, fast. We needed help, and fast. Liv took out the emergency whistle from her chest strap. 3 blasts, she said. Universal distress signal. She blew hard. 3 shrill screeches. We waited. Nothing. Blew again. And this time something answered. Not another whistle. Mocking laughter. Like someone mimicking the whistle with their mouth. Liv dropped the whistle. That's when we heard the dragging. Something moving through the leaves nearby. Not walking. Dragging. Like heavy feet. Or a body being pulled. It was coming toward us. I grabbed a branch, Cara's pocket knife, which had somehow returned. No one mentioned it. And we ducked into the dark underbrush, half carrying, half dragging her. The dragging sound followed, and then a voice. You're not supposed to leave. Close. So close. We kept moving. No plan, no idea where we were. We just ran toward whatever space looked less dense, praying for a road, a light, anything. Then we saw it. A cabin. Old. Hidden between trees like it grew there. No path leading to it. Windows boarded, roof sagging. But there was smoke coming from the chimney. I don't care if it's a trap, Liv said. We go. We go. We reached the porch and knocked. No answer. I tried the door, unlocked. Inside it smelled like mold and rust. But it was warmer. A fire burned low in a stone hearth. And there was food. Actual food. Cans, crackers, some kind of meat stew simmering. We didn't ask questions. We pulled Kara inside and closed the door. It felt safe. Until we saw the walls, hundreds of carvings, letters, words, names, and the same one, over and over, stay, stay, stay. On the floor, scrawled in soot, it hears your thoughts now. Liv started hyperventilating. Then we saw the chair in the corner and the figure in it. Still, face down, a man dead or sleeping, a knife still clutched in one hand. On his bare chest, carved deep into his skin, stayed too long. We didn't scream. It was like we were past that. You see something like that. A man slumped dead in a chair, with a word carved into his own chest. And your brain doesn't let you panic. It just freezes, goes cold. Kara whimpered from the floor. Her fever was spiking, sweat soaking her hoodie. She was barely conscious. Liv stepped back from the body, her hand over her mouth. "He's not fresh," she said, voice shaking. "That wound is days old, maybe more." I stepped closer. There was a knife in the man's hand, but also a journal in his lap. Blood-stained, torn. I picked it up. Only a few pages were legible. Second night. Heard someone walking around again. No footprints, just laughter. I haven't seen the sun in 2 days. I don't know if it's just the clouds or something else. I tried to leave. Every time I do, I come back here. I don't remember turning around, but I always end up back. Something's wrong with the forest. It changes when you look away. I think they want me here. I think maybe I want it too. I forget why I wanted to leave. I can't hear my own thoughts anymore. That's where it stopped. Liv and I exchanged a look. We didn't say it out loud, but we both knew it. This guy had stayed too long, lost his grip, and whatever had gotten to him, it was trying to get to us too. Then Kara screamed. We turned, and she was pointing at the window. There was someone standing right outside, face pressed to the glass. Not the naked man, not the whispering flannel guy. Someone else, someone wearing James's hoodie, and they were smiling. We grabbed Kara and bolted out the back door, into the woods, into the freezing cold, with nothing but the journal in my hand and a knife too dull to matter. I don't remember the run. It blurred, branches slashing our faces, feet pounding, Kara moaning every step like her bones were tearing apart. Then, a light. A dull yellow glow. We staggered toward it, thinking it was a ranger station or a car or something. It was a trail marker. Our trail marker. One of the orange strips we'd tied days ago. But it was tied in a knot, twisted around a twig, like a noose. That's when we saw the clearing, and the tent. Our tent. The same one we abandoned, set up again, repacked, lantern lit inside. It was waiting for us. "No," Liv whispered. "No fucking way." She dropped to her knees, sobbing, because we realized something in that moment. Something so deeply wrong it made my stomach twist. We never left. We never escaped. No matter how far we ran, no matter how fast, we were still inside it. Not the tent, the trap. That night, I don't remember sleeping. I remember waking up and Liv was gone. Cara didn't wake up at all. She was cold. So cold. I buried her the next morning with the knife from the dead man's hand, and then I sat in the same chair in the same cabin and wrote this. I don't know how long it's been. I don't know what's real anymore. Sometimes I hear James outside. Sometimes I see Cara by the fire. Sometimes I remember my name. But the tent zipper, it still moves every night, even though I'm alone, even though I haven't left it in weeks. And every night I hear a voice from the trees, whispering, "Stay." We found an old journal with warnings too late. It started as a weekend escape. Just me, my best friend Colin, and his girlfriend Marissa. We were all trying to get off the grid for a while. Detox from notifications, jobs, all the noise. Colin booked us a remote camping spot out in the northern Cascades. No cell service, no people. Just nature. The good kind of quiet. Or so we thought. The place was gorgeous. Alpine air, thick pine forests, snow still melting on the ridges. We parked the Jeep half a mile from our designated spot, Deer Ridge Primitive Site number 4, according to the printed map, and hiked the rest in with our gear. 2 tents, 3 sleeping bags, 1 bear-proof cooler packed with overpriced snacks from REI and a few instant noodles. That first night was normal. We grilled some sausages, drank cheap whiskey from a flask, and shared dumb stories around a weak campfire. Around midnight, we crashed. Then things got weird. I woke up at around 2:30 a.m. I know because I checked my watch. I had to pee, and the fire was out. Everything was pitch black. I grabbed my headlamp and unzipped the tent. And that's when I noticed it. The cooler was open, just wide open. The latch unhooked, the lid tilted back. Food wrappers everywhere. No bite marks, no dragging. It wasn't an animal. It looked like someone had neatly taken things out and thrown the trash around intentionally. I thought Colin had gotten up, but his tent was zipped tight. No rustling, no sound. I whispered his name. No answer. I walked toward the cooler and noticed something even weirder. My boots were gone. I'd left them right by the entrance to the tent, next to Colin's. Now they were just gone. Not moved. Gone. I scanned around with the light. Nothing. Then, right at the edge of the woods, about 20 feet out, I saw movement. Someone ducking behind a tree. Just the top of a head. Bald or maybe shaved. Just standing there. Watching. I froze. "Colin!" I called again, louder now. Still no answer. I didn't want to shout. I don't know why. Some instinct told me not to make noise. I backed slowly into the tent, zipped it up, and sat there for what felt like hours. I didn't sleep. I kept my headlamp off. My heart was thudding so loud I was sure whoever was out there could hear it. In the morning, I asked Colin and Marissa if they had seen anything. They laughed it off, said maybe a raccoon messed with the cooler, and I dreamed the rest. But I didn't dream it. My boots were still gone. I had to wear my backup pair. That should have been the end. I should have made us pack up and leave. But we didn't. That night, everything got worse. We should have left. I knew we should have. But Colin, cocky, ex-army, thinks every problem can be solved with a knife and a snarky remark, brushed me off. "Probably some bum looking for food," he said, chewing jerky. "If he comes back, we'll just scare him off." It's not like psychos are out here hiding behind trees. Marissa was quieter. She wasn't laughing. I caught her giving the woods that same look I had the night before, like something was watching. But she didn't say anything, just nodded and kept poking at her breakfast. By sunset, it started raining. That kind of light but steady drizzle that makes everything smell like pine and dirt. We huddled inside the bigger tent, played a card game with a flashlight hung from the ceiling, and tried to act normal. Around 10, I stepped out to pee. I brought the flashlight this time. No way I was walking blind again. I walked just a few steps away, keeping the tent in view. That's when I saw it. Not far from where the cooler had been, maybe 30 feet out. Someone had built a little stack of rocks and trash, like a totem or something. Candy wrappers, one of our empty whiskey minis, and a snapped photo. One I hadn't taken. It was Marissa peeing behind a tree, clearly taken from behind, from a distance. I shouted. Colin came running with a knife in hand. Marissa followed, barefoot, pale as a sheet. I showed them the pile. Colin bent down and picked up the photo. His jaw clenched. "This wasn't here before," I said. "Someone was watching us." "Back to the tent," he said. We didn't argue. We packed everything inside the tent. Colin sat by the flap, knife in hand, flashlight between his knees. I kept my boots on, nobody slept. Every twig snap outside made me flinch. Sometime around 3 a.m. we heard it. Footsteps, not animals. Heavy, slow, crunching through wet leaves, circling. We didn't speak. We didn't breathe. Then, and I swear this is real, a voice called out. A man's voice. Calm. Too calm. "You should have left," he said, like he was talking to himself, or maybe into the night. "People don't listen anymore." Colin clicked off the light. We sat there, pitch black, listening. The footsteps stopped. Nothing. Then the slow, dragging zip of our second tent. The empty one. It unzipped. Colin bolted outside with the knife. I followed. The tent was open, slashed down the side. But whoever had been there, if anyone, was gone. And that's when we noticed the book. It was sitting in the center of the slashed tent. Leather-bound, soaked, spine cracked from water damage. A journal. An old one. Colin picked it up and flipped through. Water blurred some of the ink, but the handwriting was still legible in places. One line was underlined, again and again. "Do not camp past the second ridge. They come out after dark." Another page had a map, crude, hand-sketched. It matched our trail. There was a big X right where we were camped, and on the back cover, smeared in some brown, dried stuff, maybe blood, maybe mud, were 5 words: "They don't like new people." We didn't sleep that night. The sun didn't rise fast enough. We stayed huddled in that tent like scared animals. Colin didn't say a word for hours, just stared at that journal like it might explode. Marissa sat with her arms wrapped around her knees, trembling, whispering the same thing over and over. Who the hell left that photo? Who the hell took that picture? I didn't have answers. None of us did. When it was light enough to see, we started packing. Everything. Colin didn't care about order anymore. Stuff was jammed into backpacks, soaked gear tied to straps. We even left the second tent behind. We just wanted out. We were maybe 20 minutes down the trail when we noticed the first thing wrong. Our footprints were gone. The rain had muddied everything the night before, and logically, there should have been a messy trail. Our boots, dragging bags, all of it. But it was like someone had swept the forest clean. Fresh mud. No signs of us coming in, no signs of us leaving. That's when I looked up and realized something chilling. The forest was different. I know how that sounds, like some campfire urban legend crap. But I swear, the trail was wrong. The trees were tighter, the light didn't hit the same. Colin noticed it too. He kept looking at the map from the journal, not the official one we got from the ranger station. Something about that crude drawing seemed more accurate than anything printed. We passed that fallen log before, Marissa said, pointing ahead. We had, 3 times. That log with the weird split bark, like it had been carved open. Each time we passed it, it looked newer, fresher, like something was resetting it. That's when the panic hit. Colin stopped walking, just stopped, stared off into the woods silent. Then he said, low and flat, "He's walking with us." "What?" But he didn't answer. He turned, looked to the left of the trail, and started walking off course, deeper into the trees. "Colin!" I shouted, but he didn't turn. Just walked straight, like he was following something only he could see. Marissa ran after him. I followed, heart pounding. We ran maybe 50 yards before we caught up. He was standing perfectly still in a clearing. At his feet was a small circle of rocks, like a fire pit. Only inside it, instead of ashes, was a mound of teeth. Human teeth. Some were stained, some clean, some still had bits of gum tissue. And in the middle, propped up like a trophy, was a rusty multi-tool with the REI logo. Colin's hands were shaking. "I dropped mine yesterday," he whispered. I felt like throwing up. Marissa did. She bent over, dry heaving. We turned to leave, just turned, and that's when we saw him. Across the clearing, maybe 30 feet back, mostly hidden behind a tree, only part of his face visible, grimy, cheeks smeared with dirt, eyes wide and unblinking, no expression, just watching. He didn't move. We didn't breathe. Then he grinned. A crooked, slow, impossible grin that seemed to stretch the longer we looked. And then he spoke. "You'll leave when I say." That broke us. We ran. We didn't care which direction. The forest blurred, branches slapped our faces. Marissa was crying. Colin was shouting nonsense. My legs burned, but I didn't stop. Eventually, we collapsed behind a boulder near a creek. Couldn't hear anything but our own gasping. I checked the map again. We weren't even close to where the jeep should have been. And then I noticed something even worse. The map had changed. Another X had been added. Right where we were standing. We sat behind that boulder for what felt like forever. No one talked. Marissa had this wild, glassy look in her eyes. Colin was holding the journal so tightly I thought the pages would rip. I just stared at the map. At that new, smeared X. It hadn't been there before. I knew that. We all did. Maybe one of us marked it without noticing, Colin said finally. His voice was thin, empty. He didn't believe his own bullshit. No, I said. It's in ink, and it's dry. We had to move. We knew that. Staying still was worse than running. Even if we were lost, it felt better to do something. But every direction felt wrong. Every tree looked familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. It was like the woods were copying themselves, glitching. Or maybe it was us. We followed the creek. That seemed safe, logical. Water leads somewhere. The journal didn't mention a creek, but it didn't mention a psycho hiding in the woods either. After about 30 minutes of climbing over slick rocks and ducking low-hanging branches, we came across it. The shack. It was half sunk into the side of a hill, camouflaged by moss and rotting leaves. The door hung open. Inside it was dark. Colin wanted to keep walking. Marissa didn't. She said she felt dizzy. We couldn't agree on what to do. But then it started raining again, heavier this time, and we needed cover. So we went inside. There were no windows, just a wood stove in the corner, rusted shut. The smell hit us first, a mix of mildew, rot, and something coppery. There were animal bones in the corner, old gear, a backpack with a faded Property of Park Service tag. But this wasn't any ranger station. Marissa found the journal first, not ours. A different one. Thinner, more recent. The first few pages were full of scribbles, panic writing. Then clearer. Day 6. I've seen him every night. He doesn't blink, doesn't eat, just watches. He took Paul, then kept coming back. Day 9. Tried to leave, walked for 8 hours, came back to the same tree. He was sitting underneath it, just smiling. Day 11. Broke compass. Doesn't matter. North is gone. Day 13. Heard my name in my own voice. It told me to sleep. Marissa dropped it. Colin picked it up but didn't read further. We were quiet again. So quiet we could hear the rain dripping onto the metal roof. Then came the knocking, soft, 3 knocks. From the back of the shack, we all froze. It was impossible. There wasn't a back entrance, just the single doorway we came through. Colin drew his knife again. It looked tiny now, laughable. I grabbed the fire poker from the stove. We pressed against the wall. Another knock, closer, louder, then whispering from inside the walls. We didn't wait. We just ran, storm or no storm, cold or not. Marissa tripped in the mud, scraped her knee raw, but got up without a word. We kept going. Eventually we stumbled into a clearing, and for a second, a horrible second, we thought we saw the Jeep. It was the same model, same colour, but it wasn't ours. It was burned out, half covered in moss, the windows smashed, and carved into the hood, deep, like with a knife, were the words, "No one ever leaves." Marissa screamed, not like a scared scream, more like something broke in her. And then, footsteps behind us. Not one person, multiple. We turned, figures, 3 of them, faces blurred by shadow and grime. One held something in his hand, my boot, the one that went missing that first night, and they were all smiling. I wish I could tell you we ran. I wish I could say we fought back, screamed, did something, but we just stood there, three scared animals frozen in the rain, staring at the figures in the woods. They didn't move fast. They didn't charge. They just stood, watching, boots squelching in the mud as they slowly, so slowly, stepped into the clearing like they'd been waiting for us. Like they knew we'd end up here. The one in the front, tall, maybe 6'3", shaved head, wet beard clinging to his neck, held my boot out toward me like it was a gift. "Yours," he rasped. His voice was raw, too raw, like he hadn't used it in years. "Left this behind." I didn't take it. I couldn't. Every inch of me was screaming to run. Colin stepped forward. "Back off," he said, knife in hand. The tall one laughed. It wasn't loud, just wrong. It sounded like a mockery of laughter, like someone who'd watched too many horror movies and was mimicking what people thought crazy sounded like. "You're not the first," he whispered. Then they turned, all three, at once, and walked away, just like that, gone into the trees. We didn't talk. We bolted, didn't look back, just kept running until our legs gave out. We collapsed on the side of a slope somewhere, soaked to the bone. My lungs were burning. Marissa was crying quietly, rocking slightly. Colin sat back, laughing dryly like he'd finally snapped. "That was a warning," he muttered. "They want us scared." They didn't need to do anything. That burned Jeep wasn't random. It was a message, a mirror. That night we didn't set up tents. We just lay under a makeshift tarp, curled up in a circle. Nobody slept. At some point, Colin nudged me. He held out the original journal. He'd found something else. Folded between two pages, like it had been hidden intentionally, was a photograph. Black and white, decades old. Three men in ranger uniforms standing beside a wooden sign. Deer Ridge Primitive Site, 1942. One of the men looked exactly like the one who handed me my boot. Same grin, same dead eyes. Only this photo was at least 80 years old. "How?" I started, but Colin cut me off. "Read the back." On the reverse side, scrawled in faded pencil, "They took the real ones. These are what came back." We didn't speak for a long time, just listened to the forest. At around 4 a.m., we heard something. Voices, dozens of them, all whispering, not to us, to each other, arguing, laughing, singing. One voice rose above the rest, deep, gravelly, almost joyful. "They're still here," it said. "They're still with us." The trees echoed with quiet chuckles. We held each other like kids in a nightmare and waited for morning. But it never came. When the light finally shifted through the clouds, we were standing back in the same clearing, the exact same spot where the burned Jeep sat. Only now, it was gone. No ashes, no tracks, just empty forest and 3 sets of footprints. Ours, circling each other like we'd been walking in circles all night. Marissa started whispering something over and over. Colin walked off without a word. That's when I realized something horrifying. His knife, the one he always carried, was sticking out of the dirt, planted upright, and next to it was a small pile of teeth, fresh, I shouted his name. Colin! But the forest swallowed it. No echo, no reply. Just the wind threading through the trees like it was whispering secrets I wasn't supposed to hear. Marissa didn't move. She just stared at the knife, at the teeth. Her face looked hollow, like she wasn't fully in her body anymore. I shook her, hard. We need to move. Now. She blinked slowly, then nodded. We followed the faint sound of the creek again, sticking close to each other. But every branch creak felt deliberate. Every step was a warning. The trees seemed closer now, pressing in like the forest itself wanted to keep us. At some point, we heard footsteps behind us. Just one set. I stopped, turned, nothing. Then we heard it again. Closer. We picked up the pace. Marissa was limping, her scraped knee bleeding through her leggings. But she didn't complain. I knew we were both thinking the same thing. Colin had been taken, or worse, had joined them. Eventually, we saw the glint of something in the distance, metal. My heart soared. It was the Jeep. Our Jeep this time. Same dent in the bumper, same gas can on the back. We ran like hell. The keys were still in the lockbox under the frame. I don't know how. I didn't care. I threw the packs in the back. Marissa climbed in. The moment I turned the ignition, she screamed. I turned. In the rearview mirror, Colin, standing at the edge of the tree line watching us. Silent, but there was something wrong with his face. His eyes looked too wide, like they were holding back a scream, and his mouth was open, smiling, that same smile. He raised his hand, and in it was the journal. He dropped it, turned, and disappeared into the trees. I didn't go after him. I slammed the gas. We didn't stop until we reached the first gas station an hour down the mountain. It was nearly noon, but the clouds never cleared. It felt like dusk, like it would never be light again. Inside, the guy behind the counter asked if we were okay. We must have looked feral, mud-soaked, eyes wide, blood on Marissa's pants. I said something about getting lost. He nodded like he'd heard it before. "Deer Ridge?" he asked, not looking up from the counter. I froze. He smirked. "You're the third group this season. Happens more than folks admit. Nothing official, of course." "What do you mean?" I asked. He leaned in. "Place does something to people. Makes them see things, hear things. Some come back, some don't." "Then why is it still open?" Marissa whispered. He shrugged. "Some places, they don't belong to us anymore." We didn't say another word, just left. I dropped Marissa at a hospital. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to remember. And I didn't blame her. That was 3 weeks ago. I've been home since. I haven't slept much. And sometimes I think I hear him, Colin, outside my apartment at night. Last night I opened the door just to check. On the doormat was a single hiking boot. Mine. Inside it, tucked in the toe, was the photo. The one of Marissa. And scrawled on the back in Colin's handwriting, "They let me go. You're next. I'm leaving this here for whoever finds it. Don't go to Deer Ridge. Don't follow the map. And if you hear whispering in the walls, run. Because some people don't come back wrong. They come back empty."